Always got fun and Good evening, everybody. First off, I want to apologize. We had some technical difficulties prior to executive session. We are live now, I believe.
Are we live?
Are we live? I'm live. But before we get started, we're going to say the pledge. And we actually have Matt and his colleagues from the Sunrise Drive who are going to lead us in the pledge, and we're going to have national anthem. So that's awesome. We'll talk the pledge. Ready? Matt, go ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Please remain standing.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so triumphant we ride by the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the ramparts we watch. All the ramparts we saw were so gallantly streaming, and the kids were the bombs were singing, gave to the night, the darkness was still. Oh, sailors, stars faithful, oh, the land and the great.
All right, I know we started, but I actually do need a motion to open the meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Good. We are. Next item on agenda tonight is student recognition, and as I always said, part of being a board member is part of the best thing that we get to do. We're going to start off the evening with Dr. Arnie.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to recognize and honor our elementary students. Tonight, fifth grade student Millie Valenti is being recognized for her participation in the Long Island String Festival Association, also known as LIRSA, which is comprised of the most advanced orchestra students on Long Island. Millie's outstanding violin skills earned her the honor of representing Cherry Avenue this year. In addition to Millie's musical talents, with St. Patrick's Day right around the corner, I would be remiss not to mention that Millie is an accomplished Irish step dancer. In fact, she's competed in Ireland, and she's not with us this evening because she is training for the upcoming 2023 World Irish Step Dancing Championship set to take place in Montreal in 2 weeks. So congratulations, Millie.
Although Millie's not here tonight, I am going to read her citation for the record. The Sayville Board of Education presents a citation to Millie Valenti for being nominated and selected to participate in Long Island Spring Festival, LISFA. We are proud to present this award for your achievement dedication to the participant activities.
Olive here. So Olive, along with two other fifth grade peers, Kian Murphy and again Millie Valenti, who are not here with us tonight, we expand upon our musical talent at Cherry Avenue. Every year, music teachers across the county nominate a few students from each school to participate in the Suffolk County Music Educators Association, also known as SCMEA, in the areas of band, orchestra, and chorus. These fine musicians learn challenging music on their own time. And this coming weekend, only after 3 rehearsals, they'll be putting on a very impressive performance. I'm so proud to recognize Olive, Kian, and Millie, who will be playing, and both Olive and Kian will be singing, and Millie will be playing in the orchestra. So best of luck, congratulations.
These three young ladies, Sayville Board of Education principal proudly presents a citation for being chosen to participate in all counties community corps to be assigned to present this award for achievement and dedication to participate. Thank you.
Next
So
up, Mrs. Coulson.
I'm so excited to announce the winners from the first year of our PTA Reflections Contest. Thank you to our PTA, specifically Mrs. Flynn, who I believe is here tonight, who actually chaired the contest and got us off the ground for the first year. First, I'd like to introduce Kira Arney. Kira, you hear me? Kira was the primary women music winner for Show Your Voice. And not only did she win at Lincoln, but she was actually chosen to represent Suffolk County in the New York State level competition. Kira, the Sayville Board of Education, proudly presents this citation for being the winner of the Reflections Show Your Voice primary music competition. Additionally, you have been chosen to the New York State level. We are proud to present you with this award, achievement and dedication. I'm also excited to introduce Cody Rickard, who also was the winner of the Show Your Voice primary music competition. Cody, are you here today? On behalf of the Sayville Board of Education, I present you with this citation for being the winner of the Reflections of the Show Your Voice primary music competition. Congratulations. For the visual arts category at the primary level, I'm excited to introduce Francesca Corso and Christopher Molo. Francesca and Christopher, on behalf of the Board of Education, thank you for being a winner of the Reflections Show Your Voice primary visual arts. And we're proud to present you with this award. In the intermediate dance category, Elena Bombays. Sayville Board of Education, I proudly present you with this award for being the winner of Reflections Show Your Voice intermediate dance choreography. In the category of intermediate film production, Bella Snow. On behalf of the Sayville Board of Education, proudly present you this award for being the winner of Reflections Show Your Voice intermediate film production. In the category of intermediate photography, Caitlin Flynn. This award for the winner of the Reflections Show Your Voice intermediate photography. Congratulations. Finally, in the category of intermediate visual arts, Daniela Trentadue and Lila. On behalf of the Board of Education, I proudly present you this award for being the winner of the Reflections Show Your Voice in visual intermediate visual arts.
This is all of our reflections. So I want to do that and then we'll. Yeah. Over them. Get your back, is that okay? Throw that. Get your smile ready. And everyone hold up your nice signature. We did great. Okay, ready guys? 1, 2, 3. Perfect. And finally, we are thrilled to have a member of our Lincoln Avenue student body representing us at LISFA, Christopher Larkin. School Board of Education, I was representing the board, for representing Lincoln Avenue and the Long Island Street.
Thank you. Next up, we have Dr. Ford.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So I'm privileged up here today to invite a few of our Sunrise Drive ducks up here. So I see Catherine Theophone Demetrius. Why don't you come join me over here? Maybe somewhere outside. I know Emily couldn't make it tonight. Okay, well, hey, tonight's all about you. Okay, so Kate is one of our wonderful musicians, among other things that she excels at Sunrise Drive. Kate has been selected to SCMEA. SCMEA is Suffolk County Music, Education and Arts. It's an all-county festival. It's a series of concerts that include musicians from grades 5 through 10 throughout the entire Suffolk County. Rehearsals for all-county festival traditionally occur during the first 2 weekends of March, culminating in 7 different concerts all throughout Suffolk County. And who better to represent Sunrise Drive than Kate?
The Sayville Board of Education proudly presents the evaluation of being selected for the
SCMEA. SCMEA.
This award for your achievement dedication.
Unfortunately, Emily Swift couldn't be here with us tonight. She's also a SCMEA recipient, so we'll make a big deal out of it in school tomorrow. All right. We have one other student that wasn't able to be here tonight, but just for the record, he is our LISFA. Represented us in LISFA, so did Emily Swift as well. Beautiful strings music come from our students. They come from our teachers, teaching them students, and the sound that they make is absolutely wonderful. LISFA goes back all the way to 1956. So this is a standard tradition throughout Long Island, and wonderful that our students represent us across the district. So congratulations, thank you.
Next up, Mrs. Ack.
Principal. So we have a very special young group of young men to recognize tonight. I'm going to ask Dr. I, Mrs. Carlton, and Dr. Ford to stand with me. We have Cub Scouts with us tonight. And I'm going to ask you guys when I call your name to come up first, because I'd like to recognize you as a group. So our Sunrise Drive Cub Scouts, we have Justin Colburn. Matthew Jovino. Connor Fellum. Ezekiel Brooks. And Jackson Collins. And then from Lincoln Avenue, we have Todd Williams. From Lincoln Avenue, Ryan Munchkesang. And from Cherry Avenue, Drew Christopher. So why are they being recognized tonight? Well, these students are being recognized for their achievement in receiving the Arrow of Light, which is the highest rank you can receive in Cub Scouting. The Arrow of Light patch is the only patch that they can wear on their Boy Scout uniforms. So no doubt there was a lot of time, effort, and energy that was put into earning this recognition. And I think we probably have some future Eagle Scouts and right.
What?
I want to recognize too, I believe their den leaders are here tonight, Philip Colburn and Barbara Fettle.
So normally we would just simply read the commendation, but I just want to kind of underscore something that Matt has said. I hope that we're looking at future Eagle Scouts. Last year, we graduated 12 Eagle Scouts from 3.84. The year before that, we graduated 12 Eagle Scouts from 2.84. I don't think there's a school in America, community in America, our size that produces that many scouts. That's because of a community of families that support these young men. Board of Ed, which is to honor Justin Colborn for receiving Arrow of Light, which is the highest rank Cub Scouting. By your actions, you make our community a better place in which to live. So Justin.
Good job, kid. Matt.
And you guys, need everyone one of them.
Hold on, let's get the den leader up there too.
Make sure to cover your face though, guys. Everyone your face. Okay, ready, everyone? 1, 2, 3. Aaron, come on.
Hi, guys. Hold on, guys. Stay up there for 1 second, guys. Stay up there for 1 second.
Just had one more last minute addition to the awards. We just got a notice from the town of Islip that I'm really proud to announce that one of our high school students, Michael Keener, was just awarded the Town of Islip Community Service Award. Michael's over there. He sang the national anthem tonight. I just want to take a moment to thank all of our families and students. You guys do wonderful jobs. You should be very proud of your awards tonight. We look forward to seeing many, many more in the future for all of you. Thank you very much.
Now, I also know that you guys have probably homework to do, singing to do, dancing to do. Thank you all for coming. We want to give one more big round of applause for all our recipients tonight. So any students or parents who wish to leave, you may leave. If you want to stick around, and see how we do business, please stick around and see how we do business. Otherwise, you're gonna take 3 minutes and see what we're gonna do. I haven't seen. Is our athletic director here for next year? Anywhere? No? That was great. Next item on the agenda this evening is superintendent's report, Dr. Ferris.
Okay, thank you very much. And we're going to just continue with the congratulations as we have a lot of different wonderful events that have occurred over the course of the Dr. Cox, you want to come in? So I just want to thank all of the participants of our Wizards game. We had over 38 teachers and staff. We don't need all that. Yeah, that's good.
That's good.
38 teachers and staff participated in the Wizards game. The PTA Council organized this to raise money for funding for the different PTAs throughout the district. And we had a wonderful time. The path was packed with mostly elementary students getting signatures and watching the game. It was just a lot of fun for everyone. I also have a lot of different athletic achievements this winter. And our athletic director here, Dr. Cox, is going to share a bunch of them with us.
Hi. Well, thank you.
Achievements with the staff at the Wizards game. It's out of order. Achievements the staff during the Wizards game was just to get beaten by the Wizards.
Well, that wasn't the case for our boys and girls basketball. We had a great year. So real quick, I'll run through some of the highlights for our winter season. Boys varsity basketball was a playoff qualifier this year. Went 9-6 in a very tough league 4 and took 6th place, was 10-10 overall, and had a great hard fought battle playoff game against Wyandanch this year. Girls varsity basketball took 3rd in League 4, was 9-4 in the league and 16-4 overall. They were also a playoff qualifier, lost in overtime at East Islip. Sorry, Franny. But it was an incredible performance by our girls, very proud. And they're also a NISFA Scholar Athlete team. Competitive cheer, first time ever. Both qualified for the nationals in game day cheer and traditional, so that deserves a round of applause. The first time in history. Not only did they do that, but when they went to Florida to compete, they got past the first day, which means they were national semifinalists. So that again, it's very, very much a big accomplishment. And then they came back after all of that and took 2nd place in Suffolk County. They were Suffolk County runner-up. So next year is the sky's the limit. So we're very excited about our cheer team, and they were also a NISFA Scholar Athlete team as well. Varsity bowling took 6th place in League 2, very tough league as well. Also a NISFA Scholar Athlete team. You'll see that trend. Boys fencing struggled this year, but we're a NISFA Scholar Athlete team, as well as our girls team, also a NISFA Scholar Athlete team. Very proud of them. Swimming and diving, 2-4 record, 2-6 overall, and also a NISFA Scholar Athlete team, which means that, just so you know, NISFA Scholar Athlete team is where the 75% of the team is a 90 or better average. So cumulatively, they're a 90 or better average. So all of our teams have accomplished that feat, which is very exciting. Boys varsity winter indoor track and field, NISFA Scholar Athlete team this year. Our girls team were league champions and also a NISFA Scholar Athlete team. Varsity wrestling, first time since 1996, was a league champion. They were co-league champs with Islip, so get a round of applause for our wrestling team. They were 4-1 in a very tough League 6, 5-3 overall, and they were also in this Scholar Athlete team. Some of our individual accomplishments I'd like to highlight. Mia Santana, one of our seniors, was the girls' Effie Suffolk County champion. Right now, the state does not have state championships in fencing, but she was also all Long Island selection. So congratulations to Mia. We also had New York State qualifiers and champions. This past weekend at the Ocean Breeze in Staten Island was the New York State Championships. We had junior Mulaney Baumiller took 5th in New York State in the 3,000 meter. We'll certainly recognize them, and I think in June we'll recognize them individually. Jack Owenberg, he qualified in the 1,000 for the intersectional relay. So his relay race was a combination of other student athletes who qualified in their specific race. They raced together, and they were the New York State champion. So, Leo Mangello took 3rd in Suffolk County at 132 pounds wrestling. He's a sophomore. He was also a New York State qualifier and 1 match away from an all-state, being an all-state wrestler. So we're excited for the sophomore, yeah. Ian Cameron, he's a phantom, but he's on our boys swimming and diving team, and he was our lone New York State qualifier in both the 50 and 200. So congratulations to Aiden. We also have national qualifiers on our boys and girls track teams. These are not a sanctioned event, but I wanted to congratulate our boys and girls national qualifiers who will compete this weekend. So our boys team competes this weekend at the Armory in New York City. We have Jack Owenberg, Zachary Minatello, Michael Milo, and Joseph Byrne in their respective races, the 800 meter, 200 meter, 200 meter, and a 400 meter. They all qualify with great times this year, so they're going to be competing at the Nationals this weekend. And our girls track runners, we have Delaney Baumiller, 3,000, 2 mile, and a 4 by mile relay. Megan Lankowitz in the 2 mile and 4 by mile relay. And I'll just go through it for you. Olivia Jarina, Taylor Tatevsky, Sophia Baffardi, Carly Brady, and Mariana Duffy all qualified for the Nationals. They'll compete in Boston this weekend. So congratulations to
Just want to thank Dr. Cox for his leadership of the department since coming in August. He's really just brought energy and enthusiasm to the programs and promoted the great work of our coaches and our staff. And the outcome is clear. Our students are achieving unbelievably well, and we're really very proud of them. So let's give a round of applause. Just want to again compliment our elementary schools. We had the Sayville Serve Sayville on Monday. It was a beautiful event. My first time watching. I just loved watching the Cherry Avenue, Lincoln Avenue, and Sunrise Drive elementary schools compete against each other. The teams were awesome. The crowd was awesome. The dancing in between. Congratulations to Lincoln, who was undefeated on the evening. And I have to say, like those games, even though they were very close and they got a little intense, but that I saw you diving and I was worried you were gonna like lose the feet. But I was very happy to see that you recovered and made it play. Anyway, it was a great night. We had all 3 mascots too. So I love having 3 mascots for each elementary school. The kids had a ball and we raised a lot of money for 2 really great causes. So let's just thank the teachers and the staff. A couple pictures around the district. I had a great time. I happened to be walking through the middle school and I saw this great lesson in the library where kids were designing basically prototypes for robotic hands. It was part of an engineering program, and our teachers were just kind of engaging those elementary students on a visit to the middle school. Just a great example of hands-on learning, problem solving, and collaboration in action. I just want to compliment our teachers at the middle school and the elementary schools who made that possible. So thank you to those people. And then another exciting event was the Multicultural Festival, which was organized by our PPS staff, I believe, coordinated with the World Language Department, the Music Department, and the Language, Music, and Art departments, where kids could come to the high school and they could taste foods, they could look at artwork, and they could listen to music from all different cultures. it was really such a wide array of cultures, and they're all from people who live in our community who have backgrounds or ethnic histories in other places. And it was just a wonderful thing. The highlight for me is watching our middle school assistant principal, Brian Decker from Scotland, play the bagpipes in the hill. But we also had some beautiful singing from the high school in Italian. And there was my favorite actually food. There was many great foods, but the Puerto Rican flan for me was out of this world. So congratulations to all the kids who participated. We're just going to expand on that event next year. All we've been getting is comments about, can we do more with it? And I think we definitely can. So I'm really proud of you. Congratulations to all the students who participated in that. Want to remind families that our kindergarten registration is ongoing, and we'd love to see more students coming to kindergarten. So please register early, because the earlier you register, the better we can prepare for our classes and our programming in the kindergarten. And I want to kind of bring up our middle school principal right now, Dr. Castoro, who has been slowly working with his staff on a plan to, I guess, augment the schedule at the middle school for the benefit of students. I think we have some really wonderful things going on, and Dr. Castoro is going to kind of walk us through the most recent variation of this.
Thank you very much, Doc.
I was a little nervous. I thought we were building something.
Yeah, we kind of left off.
That's the foundation.
The foundation, yeah, we left off a few months back talking about some very simple changes to the bell schedule. And really how those simple changes, that foundation was really going, it has the idea to open up opportunities and flexibility to do other things that we may never have been able to do before. So with that, and taking that very, very simple change, and when you really are talking about bells, you're talking about time. You're talking about it's the most important commodity, whether it's our personal or professional life. It is the most important thing that all of us have. It's the most important thing when our students are in school that they have. It's time. And when you want to improve outcomes, time, when students are engaged and engrossed in deep, deep learning, time is, of the essence, and something that we often talk about. I remember as a teacher, never having enough time. So how can we potentially do that? And many of us have viewed this graphic professionally and even personally as parents. The difference that 20 minutes a day as a reader makes for a student. And by the end of students starting school, by the end of 6th grade, if they've spent 20 minutes a day, they've read the equivalent of roughly 60 school days. And what 20 minutes a day can make a difference. And imagine if we could add 20 minutes to all of our academic subjects, our core academic subject areas, and what that would mean for our students, and also for our teachers, the creativity that could be unleashed and what they could do with an additional amount of time with our students. So for next year, our 6th and our 7th grade students are going to experience that additional time because of this change. And they are going to have a 1-hour block of their 4 core academic subjects on an alternating day basis. It's a very unique way in which our schedule is going to work. I want to kind of walk you through a little bit because it's different than a traditional, like what's considered a 4x4 block schedule where students have their core academic subjects on alternating days. Our students are going to have every subject every single day, but on alternating days, they're going to have hour blocks of time in English, math, science, and social studies to really get into deep, meaningful instruction in their classes. So for example, if you take a look at a potential 6th grade schedule, a student would start in math, and if you can see that second period there is kind of split in half, where they would have an hour to really get deep into math, followed up by an hour of science, and that equaling a block. And then you can see in the afternoon that day, they still have English and social studies. On the flip side, on B-Day, they will start the day in English for an hour, followed up by their hour block of social studies, and then end the day in math and science. And that's what's truly unique. So this group here, as you can see where the arrow points, that started on A-Day in math and science, on B-Day is going to have those subjects in the afternoon. and vice versa on the other side. It will answer that age-old question that I always had as a teacher: is my end of the day class different if I have them in the morning? And vice versa. We're going to actually have a chance to experience that in the middle school next year. There's a couple of other things that, come along with this, that we will move. So we have, we're going to be moving our Tech 7 class into the 6th grade. We have retirement in our technology department. So we'll be moving Tech 7 into the 6th grade as part of an elective class that students are going to take. And they're also going to, as you can see their 8th period, we will be changing the structure of our health class. So right now in 7th grade, our students take a half unit of health, which is basically an alternating day class every for the whole year in 7th grade. We're going to move a quarter of that class into grade 6 and have the other quarter in grade 7, because that's how we're going to make the room. As you can see here, we switch slides to a sample 7th grade schedule, where 7th graders once again are going to have the same opportunity to get really deep into their learning. When I think about, for example, science, the idea of having an hour to really get into experimenting in science, especially with the next generation standards, it's a very exciting prospect to allow that to happen. When I think about an English workshop, whether reader or writer, whatever it is, the ability to spend an hour in small groups to really target instruction for students. Aside from some of those shifts in moving our health and our tech class, we are also looking to push in our AIS service into those hour-long blocks in math and English language arts. One of the things that you struggle with in a middle school is when you have to give a student AIS. It's necessary. We want to remediate that skill. But when you're in middle school and certainly in elementary school, to do that, you often have to take something away. So we have this age-old question. We have to give something more of a student to a student that they may not be good at, and take away something that they may truly love, an art, an exploratory course. By pushing that in, we'll have more students in our exploratory courses and having opportunities to take those exploratory courses. This is, again, when you look at a traditional block schedule, something that is truly unique. When you look at where it is compared to our current schedule. So for example, take a 6th grade student. They come into the building typically kind of ready to roll. And we're gonna kind of get them right into those classrooms to start their learning. And then, it's the end of the day, not that they're tired, but they fizzle, they want to move. And maybe that might be a great time to get them into some of those classes where they're moving and they're doing a lot, like phys ed and things, toward the end of the day. It was interesting earlier this week, being at the roundtable, the superintendent's roundtable. You have those moments where you remember why you do certain things and why you do what you do. And we were with a group of students. Dr. Ferris has a superintendent's roundtable, and we were talking, and Dr. Ferris asked students, well, what would make schools better? And this one student said, he talked about lunch, and he talked about how when goes to lunch and waiting online, by the time he gets lunch and gets a chance to sit back down, it just feels like he's very rushed, and he just eats really quick, and then the bell rings and then he goes. He's like, I wish I had more time to just kind of maybe talk with my friends, or maybe even get outside and do all this stuff. And so he's sitting and he's going through there. And so Dr. Ferris says, funny you mentioned that. Dr. Castro is going to talk to the Board of Education on Thursday night about, again, a change to the schedule. So you're telling me what I'm hearing is you'd really love a longer lunch period where you can get outside, maybe have a little recess. That's going to happen next year. And to watch his face light up, it was that aha moment where I think, looking around the room at the other adults in the room, we were like, okay, this is what is best for kids. And then I think another student mentioned a little bit later on, it'd be nice to have like some sports equipment outside, and not just maybe go for a walk, but maybe have a soccer ball, maybe some basketballs. And again, to say, well, that's pretty much what we've heard what you're saying, and we want to make happen for you in your middle school experience. So, you know, aside from this, to hear that and some of those changes directly from students was rewarding is not the right word. It was, you remember the moments that like that as to why you want to make those changes, that's why we're here. It was a great moment. But our schedule next year, I think truly is an amazing schedule for our students first and foremost. I think it is going to absolutely unleash the creativity of our teachers that sometimes feel those constraints of time. And I have some of the most creative colleagues on the planet, and I cannot wait to get a chance to see what they do with this. So I'm very excited. I know from speaking to many of my colleagues in the middle school, they are as well, to just kind of get this ball rolling. We talked a little bit Monday about some of the things we may want to learn about to get prepared, and some other schools to potentially visit that are doing something that have blocks, and maybe get some people in there to see what those lessons and what a daily structure looks like. And it's something that I'm just very excited to see, and ultimately to be part of as a member of the team in the middle school. So this is just something that's going to be great.
And I just want to compliment you and your staff for designing this. One of the structural changes, like first of all, for students to be able to have 40 minutes to eat lunch instead of 20, to be able to go outside and play. Childhood doesn't end at 5th grade. And for some reason, in some schools, it just feels that way, but they have to have time to play. And then when they come back to class, they're more engaged and ready to learn. And the research is very clear about that. When you give more time to play to kids, they end up being able to focus better in class. And then the idea of the flipping of the morning and the afternoon. Some kids are better learners in the morning or the afternoon, so to give them that opportunity. And we've seen that with some students that we switched.
Yeah, there was another moment at that
Right.
roundtable. The student mentioned that his the team, he had an afternoon class that was now in the morning. And he was saying, "Sir, it's amazing. I feel like a different kid in the class. Now it's in the morning."
I'm
And
awake.
so Dr. Best said, "Wait a minute. So what if we did that every other day?" So that would be great. That would be so cool. So all of it just oddly happened, and it was a great time.
The other thing that I think I just want to say is that, when we were faced with lower enrollment in schools, there are different choices districts can make. One is to reduce staffing and continue as is, or to be creative and use the staffing differently. And the most wonderful part of all this is that it costs us absolutely nothing. It's just a revamping of our staffing and a revamping of our schedule and maintaining staffing as enrollment's going down. So I just want to compliment the middle school staff and Dr. Scastoro on being creative as we face some declining enrollment, and not just being pedestrian and saying, "Oh, I guess we'll reduce staffing," but saying, "Hey, let's take this as an opportunity to create a schedule that will maximize opportunities for students." I also I'm going to reemphasize, we're doing this at the elementary levels, now to be doing push-in support at the middle school level, allowing students to go to electives where before they had to go to support classes, opens up opportunities for students, and that's really important. I want to compliment you for that as well.
I just want to say my background was a high school chemistry teacher, and we were the one department that had the luxury of having a block all the time. And early in my career, the double period was like the scariest thing ever. How do you fill that time? How do you keep them busy? But towards the end of my career, or when I left the classroom, 40 minutes was never enough time. Never enough time to do anything you wanted to do. So as the middle school staff makes this transition, it'll be a challenge at the beginning. I think that they are definitely up for it. But once you fall in love with that ability to use that time effectively, it is so much better. And the immediate feedback that AIS is going to be able to do on the spot in the classroom is so much more effective than after the fact. So congratulations. I think it's a great plan.
I think it's most importantly, I think it's going to be amazing structures. That's what this is. And really, the amazing teachers that we have in the middle school, I have no doubt that they're up for doing this. And I agree. Eventually, it's going to be like an hour's not long enough.
Never.
So bigger and better problems to have.
Yeah,
Figure
yeah.
out how to get more done. Absolutely. Right.
And speaking of, oh yeah, we have that's right. Before we get to the budget proposal, we're going to let our high school student who's here to present from the high school, Franny, and who's with you, sir?
Sarah somewhere.
Somewhere back there. All right.
There are some updates and things that we talked about. But before that, Dr. Cox started a student athlete advisory committee.
So, this video on the slideshow, we talked about, it's a student-driven committee comprised of members from every varsity athletic team, and it started discussing, we'll have a job of discussing ways to enhance student athlete experience and like get involved with the community and stuff. The kids were chosen based on leadership qualities, commitment to their teams, and dedication to the programs. We've discussed service opportunities we'd like to be involved in, and are working on a 5-year plan. Unified basketball is getting started. We have a club to help out with that now. It's the youth activation committee, and it's like some kids are on the team, some kids are in both, but it's like partnered with like getting kids at the games and like making it like a nice.
Like unified so that when Special Olympics comes around, there's kids participate in both and make it a big event.
Yeah, and just to like make it like school wide, we now have this team and everyone can be involved and like making it a good time for the players and stuff. And just coming up, we're preparing for the choose to include day, which I don't know the date, but we're going, I think we're pushing into like the schools with the committee. And flag football starts next week, and that's non-mandatory practices, and they're interesting, but they can come.
So yeah, just add on to the student athlete advisory committee. So, you know, the athletic department is very excited to do that. So it was basically leaders from each team, like throughout all the seasons. And we basically discussed like what is leadership qualities, and students were able to also nominate other students that they felt could be part of the committee, which I think is important because you notice leaders, you know, in different situations. So we're working on the 5-year planning right now. You know, we want to make sure that we have a stellar athletic program. So improving facilities in our middle school and high school, making sure that, you know, the transition is going well, and connecting more to youth programs. So, for example, at the basketball senior day, it was awesome that we had the youth basketball teams there to support the girls and the guys. And then working towards community service initiatives. So we discussed maybe attending Special Olympics, maybe a polar plunge that helps raise money for the Special Olympics, and integrated athletics, which is run every day after school Monday through Thursday from 2:40 to 3:40, and basically those athletes train for the Special Olympics. We also wanted to address the multicultural festival, so we wanted to acknowledge the world language, music, and art departments organizing activities that complemented each other. So if you took me to the senior lounge, the art department had basically like painting lessons, or we also had to do things while the world language department did language lessons. So we had French, Spanish, Portuguese, Polish, and Italian. And then the music department came in and performed songs, and students enjoyed dancing to them. And it was just amazing to see how much interest the community had in representing their cultures, displayed throughout the hallways. And we just learned about the variety of cultures in the Sayville community. Right now, we are celebrating World Language Week. So the World Language Honor Society has been organizing a jam-packed interactive World Language Week. So students have taken interest in learning about Japanese and Arabic. So during our 10th period, we've had lessons, and one was student-led and then one the teacher doing it. And it was cool, like alphabet, basic phrases. And then we also had French and Spanish snack and chat. So it's basically like you play games, and then you also get to meet new people and communicate in a different language. We conclude the week tomorrow with the hallway festival filled with food, dancing, trivia. We have a poster contest with the theme of boost your rate of languages. So it's been a fun week and a lot of activities. And then tonight, the badminton tournament. So athletes helping others help in badminton tournament to raise money for Laney McGowan, who also returned home tonight. And as one of our staff members put it best, when someone in the community needs love and support, the Sayville community is there, and it's amazing at Union Sky.
Thank you for coming to speak to us tonight.
Some of the board members just wanted to ask if you could just say your names loudly and what grade you're in.
Granny Bosco, senior.
Sarah Jocko, I'm a senior.
They're on the principal's advisory.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done.
Okay, so now we got to the part that I know everyone came for tonight, if we could go over the details of the proposed budget for the 2023 school year. But the budget is really important to us because it funds all the great programs and activities and opportunities for the students that we have. So it's important that Dr. McGurk and I go over this budget, and then later tonight, the board then will vote on whether they want to adopt this budget or ask us to amend the budget for the future. So as we've talked about in the past, the budget currently stands at its active tax cap, which means that it's a regular vote. The tax cap, is a 2% cap usually, but it varies depending on the number of factors, which Dr. Gerges will explain. This year's tax cap is at 2.77%. And so our overall budget is going to be $102 million, 48,891, which is a proposed tax rate increase of 2.85%. And again, it is at the tax cap of a budget to budget increase of 2.77%. If you look at the budget compared to our current budget, again, it's $2,700,446, $734 more than last year's budget, which puts us at the tax cap. There are a lot of factors that affect the budget, many of which are out of our control. And we talked about things such as inflation, such as cost of energy, like electricity, gas, oil, heat, those things go up. Health insurance went up almost $1.3 million this year across the district. So before we even do anything to our programs, anything to enhance anything for students, we were already at the cap. So the action that we have to take is, how do we add a program for students? How do we create for students while not adding any dollars to the actual amount we spend for staff, for program, supplies, equipment? So Sam and I went through the budget this year, and we really worked, look at every item that doesn't directly impact kids and cutting wherever we could so we could make some space so that we could look at programs. And I'm really, really proud of this budget because it takes into account the surveys that we gave our families and the surveys we gave our staff and the conversations we've had with staff and principals about what we need the most to support our children. So this budget is really important this year because it includes aspects that really give the students what they need. So for example, we're adding 3 math or reading AIS positions at each of the 3 elementary schools at Cherry Avenue, at Lincoln Avenue, and at Sunrise Avenue School. One of the things we've noticed, especially through the COVID years, is as students struggle with reading, the research shows they need more consistent support and also smaller ratios. So small group support and instruction for students who struggle is really important. So by adding these positions to each of our elementary schools as part of a 2-year plan, we're adding 1 AIS teacher to each elementary school this year, and our plan would be to add 1 additional AIS teacher to the elementary schools next year, so that we can have a push-in program, so that once a day, teachers can put a reading teacher or math teacher can push into a K-1-2 classroom, and then also pull out certificates for our most needy students. We also believe that the amount of time a student gets support, so if they need reading support, we give it to them twice a week, it's just a Band-Aid. But if you give it to them every day, they make gains very quickly, and then suddenly they don't need the support later. So we want to really put a lot of attention and focus in our K-1-2 support. We're going to create something called a win period, for example, at Cherry Avenue, where every day a reading teacher pushes into the classroom, and then all the kids break into small groups, and the 2 teachers work with all the kids. And what that does is it decreases the ratios for student reading and more student math, depending on the type of support. So kids get more frequent contact with their teachers in small groups. And all the research shows that not only does that benefit kids who struggle, but it benefits kids in the middle, and also kids who need enrichment on the high end. And it really gets every student what they need when you do a push-in model like that. So we're really looking forward to running that out next year with our AS programming. We're also looking to add an RTI coordinator, response intervention coordinator. That would be a teacher on assignment who would be in charge of looking at the data for students across the district and making sure that we're giving even and consistent support across all 3 elementary schools, because we want to make sure that it doesn't matter which school a child attends. If they have a need, they get the need that is put in place that's consistent across the district. So the RTI coordinator would look at the data, meet with teachers, come up with who needs additional support, who does not need additional support, who needs push-in support. And they also are there to kind of help coach and support teachers in terms of if they have a struggling student, they can push into the classroom, provide support, model support, and help teachers with what they need. And I think it's a really good system that we're kind of putting in place for those elementary school students. The other thing we're really excited about is we're going to be piloting a STEAM program, science, technology, and engineering program at the Cherry Avenue School, who would be adding a STEAM enrichment teacher at Cherry Avenue. We're going to utilize the science lab there, and the students are going to have an opportunity to come down once or twice a week to do robotics, engineering, coding, and other engineering practices. The research is quite clear that when you engage students in that kind of problem solving early, not only does it foster a deeper understanding of problem solving, but it also gets students engaged in engineering practices. And right now, one of the highest demand jobs in America is engineers, and yet we are not producing enough of them, so we're outsourcing to other countries. So we want to give students opportunity to learn engineering from an early age, get excited about it, and then build that program in the middle school and high school as well. After next year, the plan would be in phase 2, add a teacher to Sunrise Drive and to Lincoln Avenue for STEAM enrichment as well. So there's one STEAM enrichment teacher in each building. The other part of this plan includes a kindergarten world language program. We have a 5-year plan to do world language twice a week in kindergarten, French and Spanish. And we're going to build that program each year. So next year we'll be in kindergarten, and like follow those students up, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third through fifth. And then we're going to increase our programs at the middle school in 6th and 7th grade, because we believe that a language program in the elementary schools is long overdue. It's in line with what other school districts are doing. The research backs up all the values of it, including understanding other cultures and other languages, and just getting another way to engage in learning in a fun and engaging way in elementary school. And the other thing that we want to make a commitment to is this. We have been saying in this district, and we've been saying to educators for a while, that we believe in co-teaching. We believe that the co-teacher should be partners teaching equally with 20 kids that are in the class and supporting them in a way that makes the most sense. But if we don't have the teachers both in the room at the same time, we're not really putting our money where our beliefs are. So it's really important to us, and it's important to our teachers, that we said, okay, if we believe that the teachers are partners and they share the class equally and they're both responsible for all the kids in the class, then both teachers need to be in the classroom at the same exact time for the entire day. So this budget supports full-day co-teaching in all elementary schools, and that will match up with what we're doing in the middle school and the high school as well. And finally, this budget includes additional pre-K teachers. So we got funding from the state to increase our pre-K programs. We get about $97,000 per section, so it still costs us about $50,000 to run each section. So even though they give us a large amount of money, they cap how much you can spend on each child. So we need about $50,000 for each section. And we were looking at the numbers, and it was really important to many of our families that we offered a pre-K program that was not by a lottery, but that anyone who wanted to get it and hopefully get it in their home school. So we're looking to add 2 or 3 sections depending on enrollment, so that any family who asks for a pre-K can get it, and hopefully we will spread it out in all 3 buildings. But we will give a majority of families their home school. So if they live in the Cherry area, they would go to pre-K in Cherry. If they live in the Lincoln area, they would go to pre-K in Lincoln. If they live in the Sunrise Drive area, they would go to Sunrise Drive. There may be some imperfections there, because you can have 18 sections, and if one side of town has more enrollment than another side of town, I might have to level it out so that it makes kind of balanced sense. But our goal is to try to give that to every family that wants to see. The reason that's budget contingent is because of that $50,000. So even though the state government gave us funding for it, it's not enough funding to cover the entire thing. So our budget needs to pass to do that. And all of these things here that you'll see, as Dr. Curtis will go over, are contingent on the budget passing. I am really excited about this, because this budget, in my opinion, and the opinion of our cabinet and our principals that I talked to, represent what our teachers and our families feel is needed to enhance the programming at our elementary level, to give people what they need, so they can thrive in elementary school, because we know if we put that effort in at the elementary level, that support, it'll impact success as they head into middle school and high school and beyond. And again, this is just the beginning. Over the summer, we're going to look at all the data of the 100-day study that we did, and we're going to create a 5-year plan. And we want to look at staffing and taking advantage of the fact that our enrollment's going down to kind of create programs at the middle school and high school as well over the next 5 years. So that kind of is the summary of our phase 1 instructional side of the budget. Over the last 3 meetings, Dr. Gertz has gone over the equipment, the programs, the different aspects of the supply codes and other buildings and grounds. I also wanted to add one more element before Dr. Gertz takes over, that we'd like to have, in addition to the regular vote, yes or no for budget, a proposal for a capital reserve fund. And what that means is that we would establish a fund where at the end of every year, we have contingency money set aside for emergencies such as snow removal, and or roofs caving in and or if we have to break a section here or there. Because of a particular reason, if that money is not spent at the end of the year, it usually goes into certain reserves for future years. But if we set up a special reserve for instructional space, that would be for STEAM labs at the elementary school, science labs at the middle schools and high school, improving flexible seating and other arrangements throughout the district, modernizing our insides of our classrooms. That money could then at the end of each year be put into the capital reserve. You as taxpayers would be able to vote to open it. And then once we accumulate a certain amount of money, we want to spend it, we would then ask you again, and we would tell you exactly what we're spending it on. So it would be for theater spaces at the high school and middle school, to improve lighting and sound. It could be for science labs, it could be for the STEAM labs, for technology, robotics at the elementary school. So whatever we would be spending it on, we put it up for a second vote a year later. And then you as the taxpayers would get to vote to see if we could spend that money to increase the insides of our classrooms. So what I'd like to say about that is that our outsides are really good. Our roofs are now being taken care of through the bond, our windows, our brickwork, everything is in really good shape. And now it's time to look towards the inside of our classrooms, which if you look, the last science lab that was upgraded in the district was the high school in 2001. And that sounds nice, but that was almost 22 years ago. The middle school science labs are original, I think it was 1970 something. And if we're going to do 21st century learning in the classroom with the kids, we need spaces that teachers can use that are modern. As an example, when I walked into the middle school, they were doing that robotics lesson in the library. I walked down the hallway and they were doing another lesson on the floor outside in the hallway of the science lab. So it's great. The teachers are being really creative and using spaces as best they can. Wouldn't it be great if we could set aside some money each year and then really upgrade and modernize all of our spaces so our students and our teachers can experience 21st century learning in the way that it's meant to be. And I think that's kind of the vision for the next 5 years. So Sam is going to talk about, Dr. Gerges, just how a capital reserve works, as well as how you would vote on it and how we would spend the money towards the classrooms for our students.
Thank you, Dr. Burris. I just want to go back to one slide real quick, just so the board is aware of this. Each year we have to split the budget up or report the budget using 3 different areas: the administrative, program, and capital areas. As you see on the screen here for 23-24, what the numbers are for each of the 3 categories. And very briefly, the administrative area is about 10% of the total budget. The program is the vast majority of about over 75%, and the capital, which is the buildings and grounds maintenance, the transfer to capital line, makes up about 16% of the total budget. So as you see, the vast majority is embedded and included in the instructional component. And on the right hand side, you see not just the dollar change, but also the percentage change in each of the areas. In administrative and capital, it's relatively flat, but there is a much larger investment on the program side. So one of the areas that, again, we have to discuss is a contingency budget. And what is a contingency budget? Essentially, if the budget, the initial budget that was put forth in May, does not pass, the board has the option of putting up the same or revised budget for a revote on June 20th, 2023, or they could automatically go ahead and adopt a contingent budget. The budget fails twice, as in they put another budget up for a vote on that June 20th date, and it fails twice. The district has to adopt a budget with a 0% increase on the current tax levy. So this year's tax levy being $61,883,000 would be the tax levy in the following year as well, and the budget would have to work around that number. So it will only contain a contingent budget, legal expenditures authorized by statute, and expenditures that maintain ed programs, preserve property, and maintain the health and safety of the students and the staff. So a lot of the items that were discussed and that are included in the budget right now would have to come out. A contingent budget would include reduction in staffing programs, capital items, and non-contingent items such as student supplies, certain equipment, and community use of buildings and grounds. Total spending limit, if it again fails twice, the district must adopt a contingent budget with a 0% increase on the current tax levy. One of the main components is the administrative cap, which you have on the screen, which is the ratio between the admin and the program budget components. And for a contingent budget, it has to be the lesser of these 2 numbers, either the actual for this year, which is 12.34%, that's the ratio between the admin and the program, or the proposed budget for 23-24. So the maximum in a contingent budget could be 11.9% of the total budget. It cannot exceed that. So as such, you would have to see reductions in a contingent budget of $72,000 on the administrative side, The program budget would go down by $620,823, and the capital budget would be reduced by $1,118,800. Now, I just want to mention the reason that the capital budget reduction is so high, because the first item that would go in a contingent budget is the transfer to capital line. Any sort of capital work would come out, so that's why that number is vastly higher than any of the other areas. So the total program and support reductions under a contingent budget would be $1,811,623. On the revenue side, on a contingency budget, state aid, pilot payments, and other income do remain the same. It is only the tax levy limit that is by statute going down, has to be the same as this current year. The district would reduce spending by that amount that I mentioned before. So in addition to the tax levy reduction of $1,761,623, which is the year-to-year difference from 22-23 to 23-24, we would also look to reduce our fund balance and reserve amounts by an additional $50,000, as has been presented in prior years, in order to properly account for our reserve amounts under a contingent budget as well, and what it would support. So what would it look like? So this year's budget would be $99,302,157. Under a contingent budget, there would be $100,237,268, or a 0.94% budget to budget increase, which also comes, as I mentioned, with a 0% tax levy increase from the 22-23 school year. One of the items that we do have to file when the budget is adopted is the property tax report card. And as you see here, this is the calculation, which does include the tax levy limit calculation. Just a quick sidebar, that is an 8-step calculation that starts with the current tax levy limit, takes into account the consumer price index, the CPI, which is capped at the 2% number that you always hear. And there are certain exclusions for items known as a payment in lieu of taxes. That is a commercial property that is not on the tax roll or pays a separate amount. And for other categories that, if the district is eligible, either increase or decrease the final tax levy number for the district. And as I've said in prior presentations, next year we're looking at $63,644,989, or a 2.85% increase from year to year. As you look down the report card, you see some other statistics and calculations, including the enrollment. And I'd like to make mention of the last line. The consumer price index is actually, when the controller came out with their number, is 8%. However, we're not increasing taxes by 8%. The 2% number, that's where it comes into play. It's 2% or CPI, whichever is lower. Some other items that we do have to submit with the property tax report card. These are our actual reserves as of this month, and what we're looking at in terms of estimates for next year, and they are conservative estimates. As of now, we are looking obviously at 3 months between now and the end of the school year until we start closing our books. And as you see, we are looking at a 4% adjusted unrestricted fund balance, which is the statutory limit for next year. On the screen is the property tax report card, the schedule of the reserve funds, which is a relatively newer document that we have to submit. And as you see here, the different reserves that the district holds, and what our current position is, and also what we're estimating for the upcoming school year. All of these, by the way, are available on the district's website and also on board docs. And a slide that brought up last time, projected revenues on the pie chart here. As you see, about 62% of the district's revenues come from property taxes. Investment income is significantly higher because interest rates are higher. That also includes interest rates on our deposits. So we are projecting much larger income in that area. State aid is up slightly from last year. It's over 28 million. And that's the initial proposal. There could be additional monies coming from New York State come the end of March with the legislative proposal. Our other income, which we detailed before, is about 3%. Our pilot payments for 2 properties in the district are $727,000. And our applied fund balance, which is relatively stable year to year, is just under $6 million, or 5.8%. Dr. Ferris earlier mentioned the capital reserve fund. I'm just going to go over some of the points that we went over last time. What is a capital reserve fund? It is a fund designed to fund project costs for which bonds may also be issued. For example, school buses, facility constructions, certain equipment. Annual appropriations to fund reserves are further authorized by voters. Funds cannot be expended without voter approval. So what would be on the ballot this coming May is for the establishment of the reserve, not for any expenditures that would come out of the reserve. Any expenditures would be a different vote than the one that is on this May's, would be on this May's ballot. The proposition to use these funds must be specific to a set of projects, so just can't put on the ballot, you know, tell the district use X amount of dollars. It has to be for, let's say, windows at this building in this amount, doors in this building for this amount, steam lab reconstruction in this building for this amount. So the proposition to use monies must be specific for its purpose, the building, and the amounts. And that funds may be invested in accordance with section 11 of general municipal law, any interest or capital gain realized accruing to that fund. Other points, as mentioned before, voter approval is required to create a fund and also to expend existing surplus budget monies, should they exist, would be used to capitalize or to be deposited into a capital reserve fund by board vote in any given year. The capital reserve fund can only be used for capital projects. And as mentioned before, we designed classrooms, also potentially for science labs, theater and stage lighting, windows, doors. That would be the specificity when the vote to expend monies would come up. District would also apply for state aid on any capital projects, and our aid ratio is 68 cents for every dollar spent. Passage of this proposition will also not increase taxes. Again, depositing any sort of monies in the capital fund comes from a board vote based on any surplus monies that may exist at the end of the school year. So last week, we went over some resolution language and there was some discussion back and forth. After consulting with council and some others, we did include a couple of phrases to make it, I guess, a little more user-friendly, for lack of better words. And as you see, the proposition here, that it would be for a term of approximately 8 years and an ultimate amount of $10 million. That's a cumulative amount, cumulative deposits to fund in whole or in part capital improvements to the facilities and the instructional spaces. And as you see on the screen, the facilities, the instructional spaces, and on the bottom, any other facility and instructional spaces related work, because really that is the purpose and the mission of this capital reserve.
And I just want to point out that this is the vote in May to just establish the fund. It's not the vote to spend money. If we're going to, once the fund is established, the board can decide at the end of a given year, when there's contingency money left over, where to put the money in a variety of our reserves. So money will accumulate in this reserve. If we ever want to spend that money, we would have to go to a second vote. And in that vote, the language would be much more specific, like $200,000 to enhance the lighting and sound at the middle school theater. And it would be very specific, or $90,000 to rebuild a lab, a STEAM lab at the Lincoln Avenue Elementary School. So in the vote to spend, you get very specific line item detail. In the vote to establish, it's a more broad kind of open-ended statement, as you see here.
To authorize the construction for those specific items or those construction types that you see on the screen.
Can I just ask one question?
Sure.
Just one word, ultimate amount of 10 million. Can that be changed to a maximum amount of 10 million? Because we may not go to 10 million, and that's why I think it's a little.
Yeah, usually you never go to that number.
Yeah.
You go, but it just creates, you have to have a number and you don't.
Yeah, but I'm saying change ultimate. This ultimate sounds like, yes, we're going to 10 million. But maximum. Maximum.
I have to ask council about that one,
Okay.
because it is on ballot. We would be putting it on the ballot as such. I do know that I think ultimate is a standard term, only because ultimately it would not exceed $10 million in
Yeah.
deposits. That's why.
Okay, I mean, we still have time, right? I mean, we can vote on it the way it is, and then.
Well, in the annual notice, which is on the business agenda, it does have that wording in there. But I can ask if it can be revised in the next publication.
I would also like to just have a discussion about revising some of the the wording, the language, just the order of the language. I have some notes, so I don't know if we vote on it today, and it is also, it's in two sections, on the agenda today. Will we be able to revise if we vote on it today?
I have to ask council,
Council's here.
just, what's that?
Council is here.
Yes, because I know that I think there's a 45-day
Doug, back there?
window from when
He
it
is here.
has to be put on the ballot. When the board can vote to put it on the ballot.
45 days before the vote?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
So I'd
that'd
have
have to be before, I would have to do that next week. April. May.
Might be
Oh.
before, that's why.
Yeah, it wouldn't be, we have to really meet. Yeah.
We know what addendum possible. Doug is here.
He's coming, he's in the back. They're digging him out of there,
I hope not digging, but
scooping him.
scooping him.
And while we're waiting for Doug, Sam, that 10 million means. It's not like a running balance under 10 million, it's max 10 million.
Yeah, so cumulative deposit, so let's say it's 2 million, 2 million, 2 million over time. It's not like 2 million and then I spend 1 million, so I'm
Right.
back, so I can bring it back to 2.
Right.
It's how the total number of deposits that will equal $10 million.
So, council here, do you want to ask a direct question to?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if we wanted some input and discussion regarding the wording for the capital reserve resolution. Could we do that tonight? Do we vote on it tonight and then have a discussion and make the adjustments, or must we do it before we vote on it?
You should do that before you vote on it. I don't know if it's on the agenda tonight.
It is.
I would defer to Sam in terms of the timeline for approving that.
45 days.
45 days.
days.
The next meeting is April 5th.
I don't think we have enough time though.
Before the vote.
The vote is May 16th, so it would be 30 days plus 41 days.
So we have to meet like an
Let's you
additional.
discuss it now, change the wording now, and then find out if it's.
You'd have to, if you were gonna just discuss it tonight, you have to spend.
I'm sorry.
Schedule another meeting.
Okay.
You want to talk about what you wanted?
I'd like to, the part you have on the bottom or the end. I feel like is an important part for the voters to read. And I think, so I'm gonna write with such funds to be obtained from the end of the year budget surplus funds. That tells our voters where this money is coming from. You know, I feel like that's people might want to know, where's this money coming from? So where are we getting this money?
It says it though.
No, I know, but it says. Like I said earlier, I was, you know.
That's standard language.
So the hard part is.
Highlight and bold.
Well, if you can't change the order.
The hard part is. The language as it looks. Doesn't. Nicely represent what we described, right? Like, so we just described
That's
steam
how I
labs
feel.
and theater spaces and. Lighting for the stage, like, that sounds wonderful and parents would want to come out and support that. But this looks like you get to the box, do you really want to pull this lever? It doesn't look that exciting, but you have to write it this way to legally make it acceptable to the process.
I was gonna say, included in the process, we're looking to put out a separate brochure included in the actual budget brochure to further explain what's on here, but the legal language that we have on there, again, is.
Right, it was vetted through our office and approved by our office.
And then we are going to go to all the PTA meetings. We're going to try to create a couple of separate budget meetings where we kind of explain to people what we're trying to accomplish. And hopefully, there's an understanding of what they're voting on when they get to that. To that level. Yeah.
Being on this topic, but
The Dr. Ferris point.
Can we put a
You
separate
know, you're
little,
going to, right, this is the actual proposition, right?
Yeah.
So throughout your budget calendar, right, you're going to have more of these meetings. You're going to be meetings with the PA and so on and so forth, your vested interest groups, and explaining these things more in detail. So for purposes of the vote, though, that is what we need.
yeah,
We
can't just-
out
and
explain properly.
we can't put something in, and this is a savings account, make it simple. Savings account for capital projects, or if your roof caves in, we won't have to go to a bond issue and break ourselves. This is a savings account for, gee, if you want to put on a new kitchen.
well, yeah, you have to drill down. a
No,
little
I
further.
don't know.
I think the Morgan's point though is like,
It's make it.
this
it's
is a
simple.
different way of approaching how we
Right,
attacked capital project in the
it's
past. Where
not
we've
always
gone
a
out
big
with
bond.
very large bonds. This is
We
a
would have to
smaller,
do
more
that.
agile way of actually targeting specific needs when it comes
Keep
to
it
capital.
simple.
But you
Kelly's
also-
concerned, she doesn't want to change language, she just wants to bring where the money came from first, but if we can't do it here. In the brochure, it could be the first thing that we had.
But the resolution will also have to drill down a little further, just saying we're gonna replace a kitchen may involve plumbing, electrical.
But I also want the community to know that the purpose of the fund is not necessarily for roofs and kitchens.
No,
It's for instructional
And
spaces.
it's
For
Even instructional space, they
Yeah,
can need to have
kitchen.
electrical, plumbing, water, etc.
I mean, bottom line, it was, and I mean, my understanding is what the two gentlemen said is that it won't be on, we can't vote on it if we change it.
Correct.
Right.
Well,
We could
you
always
can
call
change
it.
it now and vote on it.
No, I think also we have to realize that why we don't understand any ballot initiatives. No,
That's way of
but
Hey.
because of legalese, it winds up being this way.
Well, it's not really, to your point, it's not really legalese. So what the proposition is. So according to that, you're reserving the right to legally appropriate funds to fund your capital reserve. But what you're doing is you're not putting a tax or a burden on the public in terms of funding. You're taking monies that have been left over at the end of the year and using those monies to fund the capital.
That's
reserve.
exactly
And
what
that's-
we would want to say.
And that's what I wanted to say.
That's what
I wanted to say that part.
Can you go write that up pretty quickly for us?
I already.
My
Right here.
question is this capital reserve resolution contingent on a cash budget?
No.
No,
No,
so
it's
it's
a
a
separate
separate,
thing.
it's a separate proposition on the ballot.
Not-
However, it makes sense to vote on it on the same night,
I
because you have a
understand.
lot of people coming out and doing
Yeah.
their vote.
We just have to do our homework and get the message out.
Yeah.
I think the job of the administration is to make sure that every single person who's voting has an understanding of what they're voting on. And, we were talking about, we're gonna make a commercial, we're gonna visit all the PTA meetings, we're gonna visit the Chamber of Commerce, we're gonna visit all the areas that, tend to be involved in voting and help them understand what's in the budget for kids, as well as what's in the capital reserve that we want to set up for kids in the future.
And I think people are somewhat familiar with the budget, this would be something, Kelly, like I get your thinking. This is something newer, but maybe we could get it on the literature beforehand, not necessarily.
And
the
if you
language.
remember our meeting last week, there was a gentleman who made mention. Some of the voter coming out reads the first two parts or whatever, and then they're like, whoa, what? And
What is
then,
this?
yeah, so, and I agreed with him, and I felt like maybe we could try to alleviate that confusion or that misdirection that people might initially have, but, if we can, just do a good job of
Yeah, that's one
explaining
of
that
the
for
reasons.
sure, and like Dr. Ferris said, getting out. in the community.
That's why I included instructional spaces in the blue, because I did include that to make
Right.
it a more palatable, but one of the things I also gleaned from that was. Advertising and explaining between really now and the budget vote through. A brochure, a separate brochure, the actual budget brochure, the website, the roadshow of sorts, to explain the legal aspect, which is, which. Rachel and I went back and forth on this, and also what we needed to include. Versus what I'm saying for future votes, which would be STEAM labs,
Yes.
music theater, etc.
Right.
It's kind of that bridge of sorts.
I mean, the process gives more power to the community to decide what to spend their money. on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good
Exactly.
process.
Right.
How do you turn that into like what?
I think the outreach and
Yeah.
education.
Yeah.
I don't think the resolution language is necessarily gonna it's there to serve a purpose. I think our outreach is gonna be.
It says establish a fund and how we communicate that to the public,
Exactly.
we need to road show.
The more cost effective way.
See a lot of road shows in the future.
And I'm looking forward to all of them.
So this is the sort of concluding part in summary. The budget, as is mentioned, is $102,048,891 for the 2023-24 school year. That's the proposed amount. It represents a spending increase of $2,746,734, or a 2.77% budget to budget increase. That carries with it a 2.85% tax rate increase from 22-23. It equates to approximately $228 increase of $228 a month, or $19 a year, or $19 a month. And it is not over or under the property tax levy cap. It is at the amount calculated.
As was mentioned last time, our instructional program, our budget and fiscal management, and our facilities and our staff lead to the success of our schools and our community as represented and as the budget serves as its backbone. So what is next? Upcoming dates. April 17th is the due date for any petitions for any board candidates. They must be submitted by 5 p.m. that day. May 9th from 4:30 to 7:30 is evening voter registration here in the administration building. May 9th is also the last day to request an absentee ballot by mail. Also on May 9th is when we have our budget hearing and workshop in the administration building. That is a Tuesday. On May 11th, it's the last day to register to vote at 3 p.m. That's the cutoff time in the administration building. May 15th at 4 o'clock is the last day to request an absentee ballot in person. And finally, the annual budget vote and election is from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the old junior high school, right across from the parking lot, again on May 16th. That's all I got.
Great.
Any questions from the board? Sam?
No, I just wanted to say thank you very much. You did a great job. I think the contingency budget is a great idea, which we would have thought about years ago.
The reserves.
I never heard of it.
Now, the capital reserve is I'm looking at it. Is a great idea. I wish we would have thought about it years ago. I really didn't hear about it. It's a very good idea.
The contingency budget, yeah, it used to be called the austerity budget.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's if you want to do something, if you want to develop something, if you have an emergency, it's a very good idea.
Yes. And it'll be, as was mentioned in the messaging, through our communications, website, road shows, brochure, as to what the intended purpose over the life of that reserve, as was shown on the screen, probable term of 8 years, and it can go with an amount of 10 million.
Yeah, very good. Excellent.
Thank you.
I just want to thank Dr. Barris, cabinet, building leadership staff, because I know it was we crafted the budget in a different way this year. It was much more inclusive and everyone pitched in a different way than they have in the past. So
Well
I
done.
just wanted to commend everyone.
Yeah, well done.
The last and hopefully very quick part is the building use of facilities report. Did you want to, you have that or no?
I have it attached. It's attached.
Yes.
Going over it at all?
Only if you- Okay, it's attached for your review. So I thank you again. We're really proud of our students, our teachers, our staff. We're doing amazing things here in Sayville. We're very proud of the work we're doing.
Yeah.
And we look forward to doing more of it moving forward. So thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a Board of Education discussion. We do have 5 items here. First one was the LIA panel at the Heritage Cup in Beth Page, which I attended, and basically was our local Congress people with it, Nick Laura, as well as Andrew Garbarino, and I think I forgot the Nassau County individual's name. But basically discussion, which is probably going to affect most of Long Island. And it didn't touch too much on education, but certainly the SALT deductions we talked about, and hoping to eliminate or enhance that instead of what we see now with our SALT deduction, as far as the $10,000 max on our property taxes. Hopefully we can get some movement in Congress and the Senate because of certain things we're controlling the Congress now, and I think there's bipartisan effort to fix it, especially in New York. So we're hoping for that. And it was actually a pretty good meeting. Tomorrow, I will be attending a refit legislative breakfast along with Dr. Gerges. Dr. Gerges is actually presenting tomorrow. We'll meet with our local politicians concerning the school, and it's always normally a good event, and it's a great turnout, and we hopefully get some questions answered. Third is on April 24th. We have Betty Rosa from the commissioner coming down to speak to Long Island schools. I will be attending, as well as a couple other board members.
Okay.
Who else, Kelly?
That's right.
Okay, and she's always a great speaker. Number 4 on our board discussion, was any other discussion about Betty Rosa?
No.
But 1 to 10, I think we have a deadline to.
April 14th.
April 14th. We received a question from a community member, and the question was, can the board receive questions via Zoom or via how we're doing it? I think we'd like to discuss this.
So just, I'll talk about the feature that we have on Zoom that we can use, and then you guys can discuss if you want to allow it or not, but basically, Zoom has multiple features. One is a chat section where people can type whatever they want, and then you could ask the question and then you could answer it. Some of the concerns about that was it became almost like a social media feed where people were, firing back and forth at each other, and we don't want that. So there's a second feature on Zoom called Q&A. And that allows the district to have a private line where anyone online can type a question into the Q&A, hit submit, and then only an administrator here would see it. And then we could either read it out loud and then we could answer the question, and or if it's inappropriate or if it's an illegal question of some kind, then we just wouldn't read it. But if it's a legitimate question, and as long as it wasn't anonymous, we could read the question and then try to answer it to the best of our ability. My recommendation is that's a feature that we could use that could be safer. And I think it's a good idea because if parents or community members cannot get to the meetings and they're watching at home and they have a legitimate question they want to ask, they should be able to ask it. They're almost participating by almost being here. This would just add that layer. But again, it's up to you guys if you want to proceed with it.
I agree. I think it's a good idea to show more transparency and open up more avenues of communication with the public. In addition to that, we could also get email questions for us as well. And, answer ones that are appropriate. I think it's a great picture.
And parents can still write letters and you can answer those, but it's a little slower reading.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, anything that enables us to be a little bit more responsive and a little more open, it's helpful with communication. And just to kind of circle back to the initial point, when people are not accustomed to meetings like this, so like when people come, you talk to the board, and I think it's hard with a chat because that's not the way your brains are wired. So I think this sounds like a good way to be responsive without kind of losing the purpose.
We want to open up for questions. Basically.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's good.
I think it gives people the opportunity that can't come. I mean,
You get involved.
no brainer.
I don't mind if someone sends a question, and I prefer seeing in person, so this way you can have a discussion, but. I don't care.
You know,
Be able to get here.
Can't hurt to try.
It can't hurt,
Yeah.
you, right? We have families who working parents out there.
Yes.
Some can't go. We have people that travel for business who may not be able to make it here. So
I understand that.
we'll give it a.
If it's abused or.
We'll give it a good go.
We talked.
The nice part of the teacher is it's private, so even if someone writes something inappropriate, nobody else.
Gotcha,
online
it's
will see
not,
it.
it's not.
And who would monitor that?
We would have to have somebody monitor. So,
And just get
yeah.
print the questions or you hand it to the board chair and just.
So I'll discuss that with Will Seuss. We'll set it up in terms of format wise, and then we'll also discuss who will monitor and moderate the questions, and then we'll. Yeah. Great.
Any other? Plus the basketball, I gotta say,
My thought is just that the priority should go to the people who are here.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a good.
the volleyball games were great, the wizard game was great, so especially.
Oh, it's a lot of
volleyball
fun.
game, Was it last night or the night before? Those, well,
Two nights.
see 175 kids, 200 kids dancing on the floor, that's pretty amazing. And who won the volleyball game with the kids, by the way? The kids won, right?
The kids.
The claims order report, I guess if you could roll it over to next meeting, because it's not attached, so
Okay.
we didn't get to look at it, so just roll it over to the next one.
I was ready to answer it. I did have one question. A community member had reached out, which I thought it was a good idea. Is there any way, or has the school ever offered community service for students as a way to incentivize attendance at athletic events or school events? To kind of add to the crowd atmosphere. I thought it was a nice idea. I guess on the collegiate level, it's done, and
I'm not understanding.
so
To be an
for
employee.
attendance at whether it's a sporting event, whether it's
Kind of like community service type of.
but like incentivizing, like, okay, let's get students to girls' basketball games, so. You get community service if you go.
Oh, you get community service credit.
Correct, credit for it.
Yeah, attendance, okay.
We give community service hours at events. I don't know if you're specifically only speaking about athletic.
No, I
events,
think
but-
the gentleman in question was kind of
Yeah.
geared towards
It-
athletic events.
It depends on the nature of. yeah,
It depends on the nature of the event. A lot of times we have secondary students, whether high school or middle school, and they come help out with like elementary school events and they
I
get.
think what he's referring to.
I think he should attend, he's more like a fan, not just work, not in
I
a
think there's-
supervisory role.
And I think the idea is that if maybe they come once, they would
Come
develop
back.
an interest, it would raise awareness.
It was just an idea.
Yeah, I just want to say, I've gone to the last few events that we've had, and I went 2 years back. the attendance is incredible lately. It's really much better than it was previously. So kudos to whatever's going on. I don't know.
I think, yeah, I think it
I
depends
I
on.
don't know. I don't know. I just want to give community service for showing up to an event. It seems a little disingenuous.
No.
You know, we are gonna ask them, they're gonna put this a huge amount of hours for showing up to see their friends play.
Monitoring would be
Yeah,
tough.
if it's connected, if we could provide some opportunity for them to be doing something at the
they're
event,
helping.
that might draw the rest of the
Helping
community.
out and doing
Because,
service.
yeah, I think so. And I think that we could brainstorm those sort of
I think
things.
the spirit or the intent of community services that you're doing something to help others. So
Mhm.
you have to ask the question, like, you know, if you go to an event and you help a child who is in need to kind of sit effectively, or to get sell something to raise money for a charity, that's community service. Is it community service to, you know, cheer for a basketball game? It certainly helps the game.
I mean, look at, I don't want
It's
to
a little different.
add ideas, but maybe some sort of community spirit, you know, idea, like some kind of incentive program for that. But I certainly don't think we should be giving them hours to
Tying
their
into
college.
hours, yeah.
Yeah, their college
Yeah.
applications. So that's unfair.
Thank you. for
Thank
the
you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I just want to just say thank you to the community. My niece's daughter is Lainey. And the community has been unbelievable in their support. I just want to say thank you on behalf of the family. Thank you. Well, it's not me. I mean, Tiffany and I'm with Jason and their family. I mean, they've been through a lot. So they really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm so happy she's.
At this time, we'd like to open the public sessions. Before I open the public session, I'm going to read the statement that I've read. So the other public sessions, the Board of Education and administrators listen carefully to what matters of our community have to say. We follow regulations specified by law and policy as we encourage our community members to offer public comment at Board of Education meetings. Board of Education President, anyone who participates, in public sessions demonstrates civility as they address the board and community. One, the Board of Education meetings are held in public view, giving the public the opportunity to watch and listen to proceedings of the board. Two, in these meetings, district staff updates the board on matters pertaining to the school district. Three, the board may be required to take action on matters related to district operations. Four, board policy 1230 provides the opportunity for a period of public comment during this meeting. With that in mind, we offer brief further parameters of public comment. 30 minutes has been set aside for comments and questions by the public before the board agenda is moved. The board reserves the right to limit public participation in any given case or to the extent maximum comment period is deemed necessary. Questions and comments by the board are limited to 3 minutes per person. Speakers are asked to identify themselves and what the group they represent. Speakers should conduct themselves in a civil manner and direct their comments to the board. The board will not permit discussion involving individual district personnel, students, or community members. Thank you. If anyone would like to speak, or I ask you to step up to the podium. Right ahead, sir.
Right by the podium.
I'd like to address the board and the community about Sayville Strides. I think a lot of the ideals of Sayville Strides is good for the community, good for students, and has an overall a good effect on morale. However, I don't think the way and the manner that Sayville Strides is presented to students is effective in teaching the ideals that it stands for. As students, we've seen multiple increases of anti-Semitic, racist, and other horrible things due to Sayville Strides with complete anonymity, and no students have been found or held accountable for any of these things. We've had graffiti walls with horrible things written on them, and no student has been found accountable for writing these. Multiple students, we've had over 100 signatures on a petition to change Sayville Strides. This is mainly because a lot of students feel that too much time is spent on Sayville Strides and can be spent on other resources to help mental health and other academic programs such as music and athletic programs. Many students believe that the facilities in the school can be upgraded with the prices or with money allocated to Sable Strides. Many students think this because we think that, again, it's too often. Many students are disengaged and are uninterested in the ideals of Sable Strides because it happens every month. While it is a different topic every month, it revolves around the same premise, and it also takes up time from physical education, which I've done some research personally, and physical education is a very good assistant for mental health because physical education releases natural endorphins, which can help students and anyone involved in Sable Strides or physical education overall with their mental health. I believe that Sable Strides shouldn't be destroyed altogether. I feel like it could be changed for the better.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Anyone else, please? Yes, can you please step up to it?
Could you please state your name and your school?
Eva Collins, Salem Middle School.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I want to address the board and the committee about the Gmail being blocked in Salem Public Schools.
I'm sorry, could you repeat what I didn't hear what's being blocked?
The Gmail. You can't Gmail
Thank
for being blocked.
Sorry, I
in the
didn't hear.
school. In all Salem schools, students can't email other students, and no one can email students. So students cannot email the students during the day. That extends to sharing stuff with them. It makes work really hard. Now you can't share Google Docs, Google Slides, and other things you need to share with people to them. It also makes contacting the parents during the day impossible because phones are not allowed in the school, and so you have to email your parents, and then you can't email them. I know there's a phone in the main office, but teachers are pretty reluctant on letting people go down and use the phone during the class, so. The emails being removed makes it so parent communication is now going to be cut off from the child, and the children cannot talk to each other during the school day. And it makes work basically impossible. I know this is fun to apparently help for cheating that's been going on, but it's really had a lot of negative effects that haven't just been about cheating, but it's really to stop people from communicating with each other, sharing information and all that stuff, especially with the parents not even be able to contact their children anymore through email. It should be like address maybe some sort of solution to this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I want to take a moment to compliment our well-spoken middle school students.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Matthew B. I live at 141 Elm Street. I'm just here to voice my support for Christine Coulson's continued.
I have to make a statement first before you continue. So please, we appreciate your attendance this evening and acknowledge your desire to speak about an issue you feel is important. However, the board will not allow questions or comments regarding a particular staff member position during this public meeting. In the alternative, you should feel free to write to the Board of Education Management as your personnel.
Yeah, I also am standing in the hallway and I would appreciate you using microphones next time.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else,
Just
please?
want to, we ordered microphones 3 months ago and we're still waiting for them to arrive, but as soon as they do, we'll install them and have them.
Thank you. Anyone else, please? All right. Thank you.
I'll speak.
I didn't see you, sorry.
I know, it's fine. Sorry. I didn't expect to speak. I thought everybody else was going to at the time. So hello, everybody. I'm glad the district's attorney is here, that perhaps he can review some of these things and we'd like him to do so.
First item is at a recent board meeting. Someone was complimenting the district and was permitted 4 minutes to speak. Board can look at that video online. You're now on YouTube on it. According to me and the law, the meeting law, an opinion, we all now have 4 minutes to speak. The other thing that I noticed with our board meetings are we're recording images of the public. Lately, I've been watching other school board meetings, all that's going on in the news. And you notice we're one of the few, if any, I didn't see any others, record the public to go on YouTube. You can be placing parents and community members and children in danger if they have orders of protection. Just a heads up, you might want to just focus on the board. So this portion's a little long. I hope I can get through it in time. I'm wearing a law enforcement jacket. My husband's retired NYPD and a 9/11 first responder. Because Dr. Ferris told me that he appreciates good law enforcement officers.
I do.
I consider my respect for professions. I don't label professions or people as good or bad. I take into account whether I am capable of performing their duties or if I ever would. Simple to me. I could never be a cop. I could never be a teacher. I have admiration for both these professions among many others. We must also acknowledge, however, that there are bad and good in all professions. And that includes school district administrators, superintendents, and board of education members. What is a bad superintendent and board of education member? I ask because Dr. Ferris outright lied to a community member who has questions during a public board meeting about Union Club in schools trips.
Stop.
Again,
Hold on.
Again, it's,
Do you want me to change that?
no, so you're making an accusation against the superintendent.
Okay.
It's not appropriate.
Or,
How would you like me to word it?
no,
Not, that doesn't make a difficult word.
Yeah.
Well, you can say in my opinion.
Okay, in my opinion,
There you
thank
go.
you.
no, we don't talk about personnel.
Personnel.
All right, I'm not talking about, I want to speak about what happened at an open school board meeting that took place. It's on the YouTube channel. I'll try to reword what I'm saying.
Is there a question?
During that meeting,
Is there a question?
there was a video during the meeting, a school board member shook their heads when the unity trip, when the district's lack of oversight was blamed on social media. The district is now unnecessarily holding up my freedom of information law request for proof of things the superintendent claimed, which I know is fact or untrue. I'm not going to speak on them because I don't have those documents yet. Okay, feel free to review the forever changing story now on YouTube. And the answers given to the community member was the trip canceled 2 or 3 days before. Seemed to fluctuate back and forth. Both of those answers are untrue. And those I actually have proof of on my own phone. Community input was of no value and did nothing to mitigate the situation.
I'm gonna ask that you finish up, please.
The MLK breakfast was attended for 5 years. Are you
Again,
sure?
I'm gonna ask
Did
that
you
you,
know?
I'm gonna ask that you finish up, please.
Did you know?
I'm gonna
the
ask that you finish up, please.
After
Your
this
time,
discussed-
you're well above the 3 minutes. I'm gonna ask that you finish up. Thank you.
You shouldn't be jeopardizing students. There's
I
no
agree.
excuse. I
Thank
don't care what happened on social media.
I'm gonna ask that you finish
Yes,
up. This
if
is not a
we-
debate back and
that's if
forth.
we admitted
I gave
a
everyone
mistake.
else, I'm giving
It's
everyone
not
else the same amount of time. I'm not gonna debate this. Thank you.
Well, she's trying to make a point. That's what.
Again, I'm not gonna debate this. Thank you. I'm not gonna have a back and forth between two community members. I'm trying, excuse me. I'm trying to run the meeting. I'm trying to give everyone the same
No one
amount of
else is
time.
going to speak.
Huh?
Phil, could you call me tomorrow so I can better understand what you're?
I don't want to come in, but I do want to speak to
I would
you.
love to speak to you tomorrow.
But at the same time, I would like it on the record in email, because I have been through this for many years. People saying one thing and then in public, they say something else.
Okay, let's,
And I don't appreciate it.
Please call Dr. Ferris. Thank you.
I would like my FOIL documents first. I wait till Monday, that's the date.
And speak to Dr. Gertis.
Correct.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just please protect the kids. That's
Thank
all I
you.
ask.
And we,
I've been coming for years and that's all I've ever asked all of you, okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else, please?
Hello, Maureen Lundquist, 220 Astor Drive. I do have concerns about the Unity Club advisor at Sayville Middle School. as I believe this person is.
Again, we cannot discuss personnel. So if you could,
I'm talking about the Unity Club advisor. I'm not naming
well,
any.
that's
names.
personnel.
Oh, come on, really?
I'm sorry,
Staff, you're identifying the staff member by the position that they hold.
thank you.
So it's no different than identifying. the
Okay,
staff
that's
member.
fine. You know what? I will address that. I have concerns about political ideology going on in Sayville Middle School.
Please
That's
continue.
my concern. I don't think that the middle school or any school has any placement for students knowing adults' political ideologies. I know my two children are now afraid to go to school because they feel like it's being pushed in their face. My son is tremendously shy and he does not want to be around adults because of this problem going on. He's not the only one that feels this way. Students do not want to go to extra help after school because of teachers pushing their political beliefs in the classroom. We have no place for this in Sayville School District. In elementary school, the middle school, nor the high school. And this needs to be addressed, and this needs to be an open discussion about what is going on. Because I can tell you right now, I'm a school teacher myself. My students would never know about any political beliefs I have. I would never disclose that at a workplace. And it's going on very frequently at Sayville Middle School to the point that now my two children don't want to go to school because it's being pushed in their face.
Yeah,
So we need to address this.
I'd like to invite you to call me tomorrow and let's talk
Okay.
with Dr. Historia, because I just want to make it clear. Our schools and our teachers and our beliefs are that we do not promote, as you said,
Right.
any political ideas, and we don't want that happening in our schools. So if you have concerns,
I
I would
think we
like to
should
talk
have
to
a
you.
policy in place that flags should not be put up in classrooms, other than the American flag.
Yeah.
I don't mean my son telling me that he's afraid to go into the classroom because of the BLM flag or the gay pride flag. We shouldn't be displaying that in the school. My son didn't even know what that was until it was pushed in his face. Pushed in his face so much now that he's afraid to go to school. That's a problem. I'm at the verge of homeschooling my children because of this problem.
Would you please
So
call me
this
tomorrow?
needs to get addressed. It would be nice if you would have emailed me back, because I did email you my concerns. You never even emailed me back. So now that it's placed in public, yeah, we can have a conversation about this.
Thank
That'd
you
be
for your
great.
comment.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm Tara Collins and I have a child in the middle school. Like many Sayville residents, I think it's our job as involved parents to provide feedback to the district and the board to express our needs, concerns, and expectations. That's what's motivated me to come speak here today. I came here to tell you, well, thank you. I think you might not hear that enough, so I came here to express gratitude that we have such a responsive and forward-thinking district. Sayville is such a small community. We have families of all types, and all our teachers and staff have been fantastic in ensuring that everyone feels included and welcome, regardless of their gender identity, sexuality, race, or family status. Right now, it can be a tough time to not fit the norm being expressed by a few of the most vocal members of our community. So I appreciate that our district is doing all that I can to make sure every student can blossom in a safe and supportive environment. It's been discussed about, last week at the meeting, it's been discussed about gay flags and children's books. Now normally I'm not the one to rock the boat. I think that most of us are like that. We just want to get along, but I'm concerned that if people like me stay silent, others might think we agree with the opinion that our children and teens should be shielded from LGBTQ representation because their representation can be a life raft for some of the most vulnerable kids. We probably all heard that the suicide rate for LGBTQ teens is higher than straight teens, but I just found out, last year, 45% of LGBTQ teens seriously considered suicide. 45%, and these kids aren't inherently at risk because of who they are inside, but rather they are placed at higher risk because of how they are stigmatized, because they might not find acceptance in their homes or on the street. For some kids, school is the only place they feel like they belong. That's why it's so important for our kids to have access to amazing resources like maybe the Unity Club, the Gay Stride Alliance. Also as a side note, Pride Flag don't exist to indoctrinate kids, but to ensure them that they are safe, valued, and have every reason to be proud of who they are. And a young child of a gay parent can find a book appropriate for their reading level that shows a family like theirs, then he's going to feel more comfortable leaving his home to come to school each day, and they'll be more prepared to learn. That's as true for gay families as is for every other kind of family, because representation matters. It really does. In conclusion, I like to say that a community is only as strong as it's inclusive. And I, for one, am proud and thankful for the educators.
I'm going to ask you to finish up, please.
Uphold the inclusive values that bind us together as a community. Thank you for your.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chanel Ludwig, I have two children in the district, middle school and high school. Just a quick question, because I emailed a while back about extending public speaking time, since it is really hard to get what you want to say done in 3 minutes without gargling it and really speaking very quickly. And the only response I got was, we'll talk about it. So is that something that's still being talked about? Because usually this is unusual, and we all know there's usually 3 of us speaking, and then we're still forced to speak in 3 minutes. So I know other districts are giving their parents more time to speak, and I would really like to see if that could be extended. So again, I never got a real answer on that.
Okay, well, I will answer it. The board did discuss it at the last board meeting, and the board did decide that we're going to stay with the 3 minutes.
You're going to stay with 3 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, so I will tell you as a parent that for a bunch of us, we believe that's because you really don't want to hear us. So you cut us off. We can't complain. If we have something nice to say, we can talk all night long. But if we have a complaint, we can't speak about it here. We have to speak about it secretly in an email instead of addressing it in public. So, it's not looking good that you talk about transparency, and then you limit parents from saying what they want to say. You also limit them on time to only 3 minutes, which is very hard to get in. So I will say that it's disappointing to a lot of parents that you boast about transparency, you boast about wanting to work with parents, you boast about working with the community, and then you shut them down for 3 minutes and you don't let them complain. This is the place for that. This is the place to get the community together to hear what's really going on, rather than hiding it behind closed doors like we've always done.
Thank you.
I just wanted to follow up on what you had said. So my name is Rachel Bolger, no affiliation to Code Bolger. My daughter will refer to her as her niece just because the name is there. But anyway, I'm 142 Marion Street. I think something that we're all undereducated in is the DASA, right? Dignity and respect for all students. It really means. So when our students go into the school, whether they're gay, whether they're trans, whatever they are, the dignity is for them. They need to feel safe and supported.
I have my hard time hearing. Can you please address the board?
I'm sorry, I'm actually a loudspeaker, but I think I'm a little nervous, so I will.
Doing great.
So there is dignity and respect for all students, right? So if you're gay, if you're trans, the students should feel comfortable representing themselves, right? There is a law written in New York State that I'm not sure if everybody understands, that if a child, if they're trans, if they're gay, they are able to refer to themselves by whatever pronouns they would like, by whatever name they would like. In fact, most students, and listen, we can get upset, we can roll eyes at me. I'm just telling you the law, okay? It's New York State law. So what it says is, if you feel uncomfortable as a student in your home, you can go to school and your teacher has the right, actually the law, to follow and call you by your name and your pronoun, so that one place that they, yes.
You have to address the board.
Okay, I'm sorry. So one place that they can feel safe is in the school environment. And that is something that I think speaks volumes, as maybe it's something that the board can educate our community on, that there is a law for this. And that there is dignity and respect for all students. So all students, including my 7-year-old daughter and my 1-year-old daughter who will go to school in the Sayville community, will be able to one day, if they identify differently, be able to say that I do. Because they have the dignity and respect of their community, their peers, their teachers, and their administration. And I think that's vital and extremely important, because when we talk mental health, it is vital for our children to know, so that that suicide rate is not so high, because we speak to a narrative that fits us, that we grew up in a society, but we are evolving and we are changing, and we need to be proud that we do not sit stagnant, that we change, and that is what science does. That is what I have to say.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you all for your comments tonight. It is really much appreciated. We're gonna move on to action, recommend minutes 7-1, please. A motion? Motion. Second,
Second.
discussion? All those in favor? The recommended action 8-1 through,
No, roll call.
I'm sorry. I know I have to read this.
There you go.
So I'm gonna call 8-1 separately. Recommended motion. Resolve the Board of Education hereby adopts the proposed budget for the 2023-2024 school year, at a total of $102,048,891 for the presentation to the public at a public hearing on Tuesday, May 9, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. at the Sayville Administration Building for the submission to the qualified voters of the Sayville Union Free School District for approval on Tuesday, May 16, 2023, between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m. prevailing time at the Sayville Old Junior High Gymnasium. And it further resolved that the Board of Education hereby adopts and approves the school district property tax report card appended to the adopted proposed budget, and direct the district clerk to transmit said school district property tax report card to local newspapers and general circulation to submit said school district property tax report card to the state education department by the end of the next business day. And it further be resolved that the Board of Education directs the district clerk to include after said total amount of the school budget notice that will be mailed to all qualified voters of the Sayville Union Free School District after the date of the public budget hearing, no later than 6 days prior to the annual meeting, budget vote and election. Roll call vote is required for this. And we'll start to my left, Dr. Birch. Christine. Yeah, Maureen, I vote as well. Any discussion? Motion carried. Congratulations, Sam and Gavin.
It just means that the budget was adopted and now will be put on the vote for May 16th. Can be voted on by the public.
Okay, next roll call vote is,
You're on it. You got the reserve fund.
huh?
Yeah, come on up.
You
ready?
All right, hang on. Be resolved that the Board of Education, Sayville Union Free School District hereby authorize the following proposition to be placed on the ballot at the annual budget vote and election on May 16, 2023, for said proposition to be included in the annual notice of said vote and election. Shall the Board of Education of Sayville Union Free School District be authorized to establish a capital reserve fund pursuant to section 3651 of the New York State Educational Law, to be known as Sayville 2023 Capital Reserve Fund, for a probable term of 8 years and ultimate amount of $10 million. Ultimate amount of $10 million. The purpose shall be fund and whole, or in part capital improvements to the facilities and instructional spaces of the district, including but not limited to reconstruction and renovation of current facilities, instructional spaces, pavements and grounds, asbestos abatement, heating, ventilation, plumbing, masonry work, structural repairs, and replacement of doors, windows, floors, and roofs, site work and other facility, instructional spaces, and related work, with such funds to be obtained from the end of the school budget, surplus funds, and or the reserves that may be legally appropriated, and the interest occurred on such funds over the term of the capital reserve fund. I'll start from my right this time, Christine.
Yeah.
Kelly.
Yeah.
Maureen.
Definitely, yes.
Tom.
Okay.
Colin.
Yes.
Vote as well, yes. Discussion. We had the discussion. All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you.
Double.
Okay, now can I call 8-3 through 8-17? Any motion?
Motion.
Second. Second, please.
Second.
I'm sorry. Discussion. All those in favor? Motion carried. New business personnel, I'm gonna call 9-1 through 9-5. Can I have a motion, please? Motion. Second. Have a second?
He had a second.
Okay, discussion? All those in favor? Motion carried. New business other, I need a motion for 10-1 and 10-2.
Motion.
Sorry, second,
Second.
discussion? All those in favor? Motion carried. Dates to remember 10-1, March 22nd, senior citizen dinner and music at 3:30 p.m. March 23rd and 24th, high school musical, March 25th, high school musical, and April 4th, Board of Education meeting.
Just want to add, we want to thank the donation for the $1,000 for the Sayville Strides Carnival on, which happened in May. We really appreciate the donation.
Thank you. Thank you. I need a motion to reconvene to executive session.
Motion.
Let me read why we're back there. To enter executive session to discuss an incident investigation review, confidential investigating regarding particular members of district staff. I need a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you all for coming. We are now in executive session.